she is awake. Her hands are strapped down so tight the leather bites into her skin. Her heart is hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. A blinding light burns her eyes. And looming over her is a doctor holding a thin, gleaming spike of steel. It looks like something stolen from a kitchen drawer, a common household ice pick. He presses a thumb against her eyelid, lifting it open.
Please,
It doesn't matter that she is begging. It doesn't matter that she is the daughter of one of America's most powerful families. The metal touches the wet corner of her eye. There is a small crunch, the sickening sound of delicate bone splintering like eggshell. The ice pick slides behind the eye, deep into the forbidden territory of the brain. A flash of electric panic explodes inside her skull. She gasps. A sound cut short by the pressure. The doctor smiles. A cold, clinical expression that doesn't reach his eyes. "This will help," he whispers. Then, he picks up a mallet. With a sharp, practiced swing, he hammers the end of the spike. Thud. A jolt of nausea hits her as the metal bursts through the thin bone of the eye socket and plunges into the frontal lobe. He twists the handle. He cuts. He sweeps the metal back and forth, sawing through the white matter, severing the microscopic connections that make her her. In seconds, the screaming inside her mind fades into a terrifying silence. Her gaze goes empty, like a doll's eyes. The woman, she was spirited, intelligent, passionate, evaporates like breath on winter glass. And the worst part? The world applauded. They called him a pioneer. This is the story of how a single tool and the men who wielded it robbed thousands of their souls without ever spilling a drop of blood. This is the lobotomy. And Rosemary Kennedy was only the beginning. To understand this horror, we have to step into the dark asylum of the early 20th century. It was a world terrified of female emotion. Women who felt sadness after childbirth were labeled hysterical. Women who felt trapped in unhappy marriages were unstable. Women who wanted independence were simply sick. Society didn't treat emotion as a human experience. It treated it as a disease. A stain to be bleached out, asylums were packed to the rafters, with patients outnumbering doctors 300 to 1. It was a warehouse of human suffering.
Father, no,
and
I
families
beg
were
you.
desperate to hide their
See him
shame.
gone.
Enter neurologist Walter Freeman, a showman in a white coat with an ego the size of a cathedral. He wasn't obsessed with healing his patients. He was obsessed with his
Wash
legacy.
harder next time.
He looked at the human brain and
Come
didn't
forward.
see a miracle.
Let's have a look
he
at
saw
these.
a faulty machine with too many wires. He believed he
Do
could
not
simply
mistake
cut the
my
wires
interest
that
for
carried
kindness.
pain and leave the
Your
rest of the machine
defiance only
running.
prolongs the
He made
inevitable.
a seductive promise.
Confess.
A
Make
simple
it stop.
procedure,
Please make
Quick.
it stop!
bloodless,
I can't take
and
it.
effective. No operating room needed. No surgeon required. Just a local anesthetic, sometimes not even that, and a hammer. He sold it as salvation. A cure for depression,
It's happening.
anxiety, trauma,
Please, stop
grief.
this!
but most of all, it was a cure for female disobedience. If a woman was too loud, lobotomy. Too curious, lobotomy. Too independent, lobotomy. Freeman traveled across America in his lobotomobile, a van of horrors, performing operations by the hundreds in a single week. He posed for photos with the ice pick sticking out of a patient's eye, smiling like a magician, performing a card trick, as if he wasn't destroying the very essence of what makes a human being human. The procedure was deceptively simple, which made it all the more terrifying. There was no
Mercy, I beg
advanced
you, it is
machinery.
unbearable! horrible!
No sterile
The rack
drapes,
knows no lies.
just a chair
Speak the
and that
truth,
slender
woman.
rod of steel. The tool, known as the orbitoclast, was modeled directly after an ice pick found in Freeman's own kitchen. About 8 inches long, narrow enough to slip past the eyeball, yet thick enough to churn the brain into mush. It was inserted beneath the upper eyelid, pressed against the fragile orbital bone, the thinnest barrier between the world and the mind. A quick tap with a mallet, and the bone gave way, Freeman told his assistants. The brain feels no pain, but the patients felt everything else. They felt the pressure. They felt the invasion. They felt the terror of having their skull breached while they were wide awake. Once inside the brain's soft tissue, the real butchery began. Freeman wasn't carefully removing tumors. He was blindly severing the frontal lobes, the seat of personality, judgment, and self-control. With a simple, careless motion, he would swing the ice pick left, then right. A blind sweep to scramble thought itself. It took less than 10 minutes. No stitches, no scars, except for 2 purple-black eyes that looked like the victim
Father, you
had been
cannot
in a
force
prize
me into
fight.
this marriage. I
In
will
medical
not be
textbooks,
bartered like livestock.
It was described
Silence.
with cold precision,
obey me,
transorbital lobotomy, but in reality, it was a purge, a reset button on a human soul. It erased guilt. Yes, but
Is
it took
anyone
joy
there?
with it. It erased fear,
Please help me.
but it took ambition. It erased the pain by wiping away the person who felt it. Patients weren't healed, they were hollowed out. Some emerged calm and silent, staring at walls for hours. Others became violent, confused, reverting to a
saints you live.
childlike state,
But God forgive
unable
you.
to feed
for
or
I
dress
cannot.
themselves. A quarter of them never woke up at all. And yet, the ice pick kept swinging. Why? Because the results that mattered most weren't the patient's happiness. It was the relief of the families who didn't want to deal with a difficult relative anymore. A brain reduced to compliance was logged as a medical success. A mind that no longer rebelled was a victory for society. Lobotomy was sold as freedom from mental illness. But what it truly delivered was a life sentence of captivity inside one's own skin. And no story illustrates this tragedy more perfectly than that of Rosemary Kennedy. She was born into American royalty, the Kennedy dynasty, a life of promise, wealth, and influence lay before her. But Rosemary was different. She learned slower than her high-achieving siblings.
And the pain
She had
will
mood
stop.
swings. She rebelled against the strict rules of her family. In public, she was radiant, a charming young woman with a shy smile. But behind closed doors, she was a problem. Her father, Joseph Kennedy Sr., feared scandal more than he feared God. A daughter who didn't fit the perfect Kennedy mold was a threat to his political ambitions. When Rosemary started sneaking out at night,
Why
when
so
she
sorrowful,
showed anger,
lady?
when she
A
sought
beauty such as yours
independence,
should be smiling.
he panicked. He needed a fix, and Walter Freeman was selling one. Joseph Kennedy didn't tell his wife. He didn't ask Rosemary. He simply signed the paperwork and handed his daughter's life to a man with an ice pick. November 19th, 41. A hospital room. White walls. The smell of antiseptic. Rosemary. Only 23 years old. Vibrant and beautiful. Was strapped to a table. She was awake. She asked what was happening, her voice trembling. They told her it would help her live a better life. Freeman slid the instrument beneath her eyelid. He hammered it through. At first, she spoke. They asked her to recite the alphabet or sing a song to monitor her brain function. A, B, C, she chanted. Then, as Freeman cut deeper, severing the white matter, her voice slowed. It slurred, and then it stopped. The song died in her throat. Freeman continued cutting until she was silent. Her father stood nearby, watching a stranger dismantle his daughter's mind piece by piece. When the tool was withdrawn, Rosemary was quiet.